hold up. Slow your roll. What the heck is going on? It's really not that bad. It just needs a little shaping. To the lab! Always use protection, guys. Uh-oh, back again. MC is back. What's happening? If you don't know who I am, my name is MC Jeter. I am the author of The Gems, a new adult contemporary fantasy romance novel. This is my second YouTube video ever. It's crazy how you just gotta rip the first one off like a band-aid, and then everything comes off more chill. Everything's so much more relaxed, going with the flow, so much more of a vibe. And of course, again, today we are going to do chapter dissections. So I was sitting around trying to figure out, okay, this is book number 2. What book do you want to do for book number 2? And I knew for sure that I wanted to do a Black author, and I knew I wanted to do a trad published author, a book that was very much well known. And so, drum roll please. Our chapter dissection for today is Legendborn by Tracey Deonn. It's been 2 years since I've read this book. I physically read this book. The second book I audibly read. And so I'm excited because I don't remember how this book starts at all. So this should be very interesting. For my first episode, I did Cinder, and I had just recently read Cinder this year, so everything was very familiar. So this one is a little bit less familiar, but it's still nice because I have the background context since I have read it before. So this chapter is 13 pages, and if you don't know what we're looking for in these chapter dissections, I'm about to go over it. So let me take out my dissection notebook. So the things that we're going to be analyzing today are the first sentence, genre setting, mood, tone, conflict, general plot understanding, main character, voice, and then how the chapter finishes. In terms of the first sentence, we're looking for if it's a hook. Am I sat? Does this one sentence make me want to finish reading the entire book? Then for the next 8 things I said, the genre, setting, mood, tone, conflict, general plot understanding, main character, and voice, we're seeing how the author is using and implementing these devices to push their story forward, and even making sure that they are using these devices. Like, imagine you start reading a book and there's no setting in the first chapter. No setting, no hinting of the genre, no inkling of the main character. That's how you can keep people from continuing reading your book. It doesn't keep readers engaged. For genre, we're looking for, okay, if this is a romance book, where are the romance implements in it? For Legendborn, this is a fantasy book. There should be some type of indicator of fantasy within the first chapter. Setting, I want to know, where is this taking place? Is this taking place in some alternate realm, or is this a contemporary fantasy? This should be disclosed in the first chapter. Mood and tone are very similar. Mood is what the reader feels while they're reading. Tone is what the author is conveying in their writing. So sometimes they overlap, and then sometimes they don't. What type of tone is happening here? Is the tone obvious? And how does that kind of reflect my reader mood? Conflict. Is there a little inkling of a conflict in here? Like, if I started reading this book and had no idea what the conflict was about, no idea of the problem that the main character has to conquer, that might push me aside. General plot understanding. Now, I say general plot understanding because, of course, you shouldn't know the entire plot simply from the first chapter of the book. That is one very bad way for me to put down the book. So in terms of general plot understanding, I'm looking for not too much information that I know everything, and not so little information that I'm just confused the whole time. Something that will take readers out of your book, especially me as a reader, is if I'm confused. Sometimes as a reader, I'm able to identify, oh, I'm supposed to be confused. This author is purposefully leaving out details, so I am confused. But it is important that the author does not take advantage of that time, because then they're taking advantage of the reader's time. There is a happy medium between sharing and keeping information, and so that's what we're looking for in terms of general plot understanding. Voice. Again, voice kind of overlaps with tone, and mood, voice, and tone is something that I want to get better at analyzing so that I can in turn get better at conveying a mood, conveying a tone, conveying my voice. So because there's a lot of overlap, it's kind of difficult. But voice is the personality. And then we have the main character. This is important. People want to care about the characters that they're reading. So if I pick up this book and I read the first chapter, I don't know who the main character is. I don't know what their name is. I don't know what they feel. I don't know what they look like. I don't know what they're thinking. If I don't have a reason to care about them, why am I going to continue reading their story? And then, of course, I'm going to think about what I liked about how this author wrote the first chapter versus what I didn't like about how the author wrote this chapter. And in terms of the likes and dislikes, that's strictly in terms of their writing. What aspect of their writing do I want to implement into my own style within my own writing? And what aspect of their writing, if any, did I not really like that I kind of want to avoid within my own writing? And then, of course, how the chapter finishes. We want that, just like we want a strong start, we need a strong finish. Because if the chapter ends with like a satisfying end, there's nothing really to keep the reader to continue reading, especially if there's none of these other aspects within the first chapter. What can save a book, or in my opinion, what can save the first chapter is even if there is no idea what the genre, not really getting a mood, I'm just confused the whole time. If the end of the chapter leaves me like, oh, wait, hold up, slow your roll. What the heck is going on? I will keep reading. So, and it doesn't even have to be that crazy. It could just be a little, something that just will push the reader to continue reading. But of course, before I dive into this dissection, I have to get my PPE on. It's really not that bad. It just needs a little shaping. To the lab! Always use protection, guys. But this time, I'm whipping out a couple more tools. It's getting a little hot in the lab. And we're not even reading anything spicy. Like, chill. It's time to cut her open. Now, it's all about the precision, all about the angle. It's all about the angle. Too far. Oh no! Hold on a second. I think we have something going on here that I did not realize before. Guys, there's a prologue. Does this mean that we have two first sentences again? No, I think that the first sentence is the prologue. All right. How does a first chapter dissection work with the prologue? Does this mean I have to read the prologue too? I guess so. Technically, I'm not allowed to be chewing gum in the lab, but we got away with it all the time. Toss, toss. Toss, 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 toss. My hair's in my face. I do, in fact, indeed, probably very likely think that this pen is going to smear. I was indeed, in fact, correct. Side note, if you guys use these clear sticky notes to annotate your book without damaging your book, make sure you get a ballpoint pen, not gel, because the gel will smear. And I knew this, and I was just hoping that it wouldn't. But it did in fact do that, so. Now this is a first sentence. Now this is a first sentence. Now this is a first sentence. Hello? I'm filming a YouTube video. You're welcome to join me. You're welcome to be here though. Are you staying? Oh. Quite a long dissection because of the prologue, which I don't even know. Like, that changes things, does it not? I need to write that down in my notebook. Audacity is insane. The audacity is insane. Who says that? Now that'll get you kicked out of lab. Or at least in trouble. Guys, I'm a slow reader. I'm on page 21, and that took me
30 plus minutes.
30 plus minutes. And yes, I'm annotating, but I'm not annotating a lot. They're quick notes. Like, I need to work on that. Time to analyze. As I previously stated, there's a prologue in here. And in terms of chapter dissection or first chapter dissection, for the sake of sticking with first chapter, I am going to choose the first sentence of the first chapter, not the prologue, but I will just read the prologue first sentence just so that you guys know what it is. The police officer's body goes blurry and then sharpens again. Now, because a lot of people will start reading this book at the prologue, I do think that it is important to have a strong sentence here, and I don't think that is a strong sentence at all. You know something is going wrong because it's the police officer. In any case, when a police officer shows up in a book, it's not usually good unless the police officer, is the parent of the character, is the son of the character. But if that's the case, they're not going to refer to that character as the police officer. It will be referred to as my son or the person's name. Like, that something bad happened or is happening. You don't know what, but there's nothing more in this sentence. It's like, oh, police officer, what's going on? Yes, that's pushing you forward to keep reading the story, but for me, it's not pushing me forward a lot. Now, if we go to the actual first sentence, the actual first sentence of the first chapter, that's a good sentence. A Carolina first year sprints through the darkness and launches himself off the cliff into the moonlit night. Wow. Why is that a good first sentence? 1, Carolina setting, and then we got moonlit nights. That's part adds to the setting. 2, that adds conflict because nobody just jumps off of a cliff. Like, what the heck is going on? Especially with how it's described. It's purposely described with ambiguity so that you can go, somebody just jumped off a cliff, and in a few sentences more you realize, oh, they're just having fun. But because you're like, what, somebody's jumping off a cliff, that's what pushes the reader to continue reading. That's the hook. Tracey Deonn had us hooked there, guys. All right, everybody, I'm going to get this right. Tone, mood, and voice. I'm going to just read straight off of the Google. Okay, so tone reflects the author's perspective and attitude. Got that. Mood represents the emotional atmosphere the reader experiences while reading. Got that. Voice is where I messed up. Voice is the distinctive character of the narrator, including their personality, background, and way of speaking. Bree is who is providing the voice. Glad to know that. See, guys, look, we're already improving. This dissection, probably a B- because I definitely got voice wrong. This dissection, we're gonna aim for a B+, maybe even get an A-. The tone in the first sentence is immaculate. It is stressful. It is desperate. You can really identify it in the words sprints and launch. That's what somebody does with urgency, with authority, especially in the context of the first sentence with the ambiguity. You're reading it as a stressful situation rather than a fun one. The tone changes as soon as you find out that it's people are cheering, happy, it's a tradition. Then the tone changes right there. She changes the tone, so it's like, haha, hee hee, I just want to stress you out a little bit, but it's actually not that much of a stressful event. I was just trying to get you to keep reading, and girl, it worked. So actually, I'm gonna give this sentence 5 hearts because I was like, wow, that's my type of first sentence. That's my type of hook. My type as in the type I like to read, but also the type that I want to write. So while I'm at it, I'm gonna go down to my likes and I'm going to add ambiguity to mislead reader in first sentence. Ambiguity in terms of writing has a lot of power. Now, I don't recommend that you use ambiguity when you're writing, like, you know, an essay or a school assignment. Do not do that. But like when you're writing a story to try to mislead your readers, because that's okay to do. It's totally okay to mislead your readers as long as there's a point behind it. If you're just constantly misleading your readers for a hee hee ha ha moment, and just because you can with no reasoning behind it, you can lose a reader by that, because that ambiguity can provide confusion. If you're providing ambiguity, it needs to be done tastefully and then resolved relatively quickly. That way your reader isn't dwelling on it more than focusing on the story. And so this ambiguity in this first sentence does not last long. Genre, we learn about the genre, that it's contemporary right away. Check. Mainly from the prologue, but we also get it in chapter 1. You get hints of fantasy in the prologue. You don't get hints of fantasy until kind of end of chapter 1, which is fine because the prologue, one of the last couple of words in the prologue is literally magic. Magic, especially in the way that she worded it. The air around him looks alive, like he is drenched in magic. Really good indicator of fantasy right there. By the time of by the time you finish reading chapter 1, you're like, fantasy exclamation mark. You know for sure. So yeah, in terms of our setting, we know that it's in Carolina. We know that we're at a quarry. We know it's night. We're at a university. Like, the setting is all there. We're not struggling with where we are at all. Appreciate that. Like that for us. Now, going back into tone and mood. Tone. What the author is trying to get us to feel. I would say the author uses between informal and semi-informal. I feel like the community that she's around have a breadth of vocabulary, like asinine. Personally, I have never said that casually in a sentence in my life, but a character in this book did. And so I think that provides an educated tone, like these people are smart. So maybe I'll say an informal, educated tone that is pretty consistent throughout this whole chapter. And then the reader's mood. What am I feeling? I'm feeling a little stressed, which, I like to be. Stress me out, make me frantic, make me sweat off all my deodorant. Books that make me sweat off all my deodorant and give me whiplash. I want my head to be 3 meters back. That's the type of whiplash I like. That's like type of stress I like. Give me a plot twist that twists my body so bad they can't differentiate me between a pretzel. They would name the game Twister after me. In moments, the mood would fluctuate between being stressed and light and calm. Like stress, light, calm. Stress, light, calm. So that you would be like, oh, things are good. Oh, things aren't good? Oh, okay, things are good. Type thing. But like not in a way where it's like you feel like you're getting torn back and forth. It was pretty like steady and evenly throughout. Now moving on to the voice. What is Bree? Bree is sarcastic. You can tell, like she's got sarcasm going on in her brain the entire time. Sarcastic and irritated and just like tired. Conflict, very obvious. You get conflict straight from the get-go. Oh my gosh, somebody's jumping off a cliff. Oh, we're okay. We're good. Oh my gosh, people are screaming. Oh, it's just a fight. Oh, the police are gonna come. Oh my gosh, where's my friend? oh my gosh, why did I just turn around and leave here? I need to be looking for my friend. Why am I leaving? We have conflict here. General plot understanding, we know that something's going on. Of course, again, good job of not telling us all the details. Is there some type of magic? Yes. Do we know what the magic is? No. Should we know what the magic is? No. And then main character, because I've read this book before, Bree gets on my nerves. Some things that she does where when I was reading this, I had to put the book down because why is she getting on my nerves so much? But, I do care about her. It's the situation that she's going through. The situation and how it's written and how she's processing it makes you care about her. But also like how her relationship with Alice, that also makes you care about her. But I think that mainly processing her mom's death is the key factor of why I'm paying attention to her, why I want to learn more about her story. How the chapter ends. This is a good end to the chapter. She's leaving the chaos when she doesn't want to. Why are you leaving? It's described as she's being forced to leave. We don't know why that's happening. We don't know what's going on. That's pushing the story forward. Why is she doing this? She shouldn't be doing this. All of this crazy stuff is happening and we're leaving. Bree, why did you just turn off the TV right when we're at the climax in this movie? What are you doing? Turn around and go back. I want to know what's going on. So this whole factor pushes the story forward. Makes me want to turn the page right now. Yeah, Tracey Deonn does a really good job there of being yeah, you're not going to put down my book. You're not going to put down my book. Even if you're thinking about putting down the book, chapter 2 starts with leave now. All caps. Italicized. Something else that Tracey Deonn goes, I'm jumping back to my likes now, is the writing style. But more specifically, the different lengths of the sentences. I sometimes see authors implement this, and I would say I don't see it as often as I would like to see it. For example, I don't cry for my mother's death, period, or for myself, period. It could have been, I don't cry for my mother's death or for myself. That could have been one sentence. She chooses to make it two. Another writing thing that she has, I like how she uses colons. In the prologue, she goes, last night, this morning, today, tonight, then, now, forever. And after all of those, there's a sentence. I just wasn't going to read it. It's different than your run-of-the-mill sentence structure. That's also going to keep readers engaged. They're going to read a sentence and be like, oh, that's a little different. That's interesting. Let me keep reading. I want a little bit more of that. Time to get these goggles off before I get the marks on my face, guys. Is this gonna hurt? Do you guys think if I let it go? Do I look cool? Does it look cool when my eyes are open? I don't want to break my glasses. I feel like just some wind in my face. So, overall thoughts of this dissection. This dissection went a lot better than my first one. The one, if you saw episode 1 with Cinder, that was my first time ever dissecting a chapter, and I kind of struggled through it just a little bit. I was on that struggle bus, and the hardest part was literally tone, mood, and voice for me, but I think I'm getting better at it. I have the hang of it, and it helps that I have better knowledge of what those mean. And I guess just the fact that I'm doing this again, I'm finding things faster, I'm finding things more easily, and it also might be because I haven't read this book so recently, where I'm thinking of, oh, what happens next? Oh, I remember when this happens, and I'm not thinking about how this book is foreshadowing or more focusing on the present. Now, of course, there were still those, oh, this is foreshadowing that, and this is foreshadowing that. There were still those thoughts going through my head, but not as much as when I was reading the other book, and I think that made this dissection easier. My biggest takeaway from this dissection was actually the first sentence. I'll read it again for you guys. A Carolina first year sprints through the darkness and launches himself off the cliff into the moonlit. Ooh, into the moonlit night. And how that sentence uses tasteful ambiguity. I want to be able to do that. I want to be able to do that. That is cool. I know that I have the capabilities of doing it. I just never think that I consciously thought to do it. I'm sure that I might have accidentally, subconsciously thought of doing it. But now that I have the conscious want to implement this into my first chapter, not just my first chapter, but throughout my book, I think that I can perform and do it well. Overall, I would say that this was a very successful dissection, much better than my last dissection. Ooh, the last one, guys, it was a little rough. Like, reflecting back onto it was a little rough. This one came a lot more easily, and I have a feeling that by the time that I've gotten through most of this, I'll be able to do it fast. The thing that's taking me longest is just the reading thing, because I'm just a slow reader. Thank you guys for dissecting chapter 1 of Legendborn with me. I had a good time, learned a lot, and have a new perspective, not only of this book, but of my own writing itself and kind of where I want to take it. If you guys have any recommendations of what books I should dissect next, drop them in the comments. I want some good ones and I want some bad ones. If you like this video, make sure you hit that subscribe button, and I will see you guys next time. She did it. She did a thing.